To the home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Tonight on JoyNews Prime, sad Friday, as over 20 persons perish in two different accidents. Ghana Airport Company workers call off strike, which disrupted flights and left many passengers stranded.
For the respect for the states and the minister that have also come here, we want to halt the action and go into the meeting. At the end of the meeting, we will communicate to you the next line of action.
We'll bring you a story of how disability has pinned a 27-year-old to the ground. He has never walked nor sat. In business, some major oil marketing companies adjust fuel prices upwards following rising prices of finished petroleum products on the international market. I'm Aisha Ibrahim. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air on GoTV channel 144 and DSTV channel 421. Do stay tuned in. 19 people have died after two Kia Grandbed buses collided on the Akim-Asafo stretch of the Accra-Kumasi highway. 16 passengers from both vehicles died on the spot and 3 died later.
According to the police, the unfortunate incident happened at about 1:30 a.m. on Friday, with the driver of a Kia Grandbed bus with the registration number GT 5629-18 being one of the casualties. The police say upon reaching a section of the road at Akim-Asafo Junction, the driver made an unsafe overtaking without observing traffic from the opposite direction. In the process, he crashed head-on with another Kia Grandbed bus with the registration number GE 5510-15, which was heading to Accra. The two drivers did not survive. In all, 19 people have perished.
Tema bebre wu ma ga bi wa hanom na si no so boai oyadwuma wo hospital Asafo hospital to ono na osisi ankofo mene no yede wo mgu Toyota Hesi bi mu na yede wo mko hospital asana 112 ni ba to wo ba na o mbesise bi ede ko ye mini police ni kokko we ntia na mene no na fo share bus no ene ne yi life and dead ones ni na anti nipa 5 ti ena etete ya ena yi wo na ndi bi akọ yadwuma mu ko ena yede bi so akọ fredo ene de so ko chebi ni osiem nti de si anu nti yese trailer bi na ekreti yenti Accra is swebe master inso swebe enom de bebo.
The Suhum Motor Transport and Traffic Department, District Police Patrol Team and Kibi MTTD Police Command were also at the scene directing traffic. The accident vehicles were towed from the scene to a safer place for the free flow of traffic.
Meanwhile, the Eastern Regional MTTD Commander, Chief Superintendent Stephen Ahiatafo, has raised concerns over the misbehavior of most drivers on our roads. He was speaking on the Pulse earlier this afternoon.
As for accident, when it happens, the investigation has just begun, and visiting the scene, you realize that place is a curve where that accident happened. It's a curve. Everyone who were there, one Peter bus driver, overtook a stretch of vehicles. The same spot. When I even stopped him, he didn't stop. So I have to chase him and bring him back. When I brought him back, not only he hasn't got a license, so we could realize he entered the bush and ran away, leaving the car behind. Wow. So this thing, we will continue doing education, but much depends on transport operators. Before they give a car to a driver, they should see the cycle, how drivers respond to situations. Because that, if you even look on the ground, on the road, there are drawings, even fresh drawings, indicating that no car should overtake at that corner.
And still on road crashes, 3 persons have been killed in an accident on the Asen-Nyankomasi Road. The victims were on their way to a funeral at Asen-Ministerial. We have David Osafo-Adonting, who is Director of Planning at the National Road Safety Authority, who just returned from the Akim-Asafo accident scene. He joins us via phone for more. Mr. Adonting, what did you find on your mission to Akim-Asafo accident scene?
Good evening, and I, as you said, visited the crash scene. We identified a couple of things. And first of all, we all know that when it comes to crash, it is either the road, the vehicle that we travel in it, or the human beings surrounding the crash. And we identified that as far as the road engineering is concerned, the layout is said that we have an intersection. There's a junction with a minor road entering from the right. That is if you're going to Kumasi from Accra. We have a curve that's a bend within the intersection, but it's clearly marked, very visible, with signage and the arrows indicating the lanes and where drivers or motorists should use if you're turning left or turning right, and clearly, I think that you cannot attribute anything associated to the road. What we identified was that the driver, one of the problems may be that he was speeding far beyond the stipulated acceptable speed limit. Again, we could also see that he moved from his lane to the approaching lane. It means that the one from Accra going to Kumasi had to leave his lane to the lane from Kumasi, and clearly indicating some overtaking or unsafe. I think I like the word you used, unsafe overtaking. And so there was a head-on collision between the two buses. Unfortunately, we've lost 19 people as of now. And so that's clearly what we saw. Investigations are ongoing. The police is doing its own investigation. And the National Road Safety Authority, we're also doing our own investigation.
It's quite sad.
Yes.
It's quite a sad spectacle, but over 2,000 people died last year through accidents. What are we doing wrong?
In fact, over 2,500, because we had 2,589 dying using the road as a result of road traffic crashes at the end of last year. We envisage that under our Arrive Alive campaign, we'll make a lot of positive impact. Of course, it takes some time for campaigns to make impact, but we think that the leadership by yourself, multimedia, and the other media groups, together with our stakeholders, we are progressively making some meaningful gains. Until this February, in fact, later part of January and February, we have recorded quite a number of crashes, and some of whom appear to be unprecedented. We are not worried. We're not disturbed, because it's a human institution. We need to work hard. And this is the time for us to drum home the need for all of us to be responsible for our own lives, and especially the National Road Safety Authority. I think what we identify as limiting our progress is our control over the transport operators. At the moment, we don't have that control over them. And so that is the more reason why government has given us the power to now regulate them. We are putting in place all the necessary allies and mechanisms and institutions to get control, take absolute control of the transport operators.
But Mr. Adonting, why don't we have control over these people?
You know, over the years, public transport system, or should I say the commercial and passenger services in Ghana, operation has not been regulated over years. Until just last year, 2019, that government now assigned that responsibility to the National Road Safety Authority under the new Act 993. And we are now putting together an LI for Parliament to pass so that we can now provide the necessary standards and regulate the industry.
So how soon is this regulation going to?
We are looking. The Attorney General has just given us his comments on the draft. The draft is now being prepared for Parliament in the coming weeks. Once this is passed, then we have the LI to back the Act. And within the Act is what the provisions we have made to regulate the public transport system, especially this transport operator, so that all the standards that we have identified worldwide, the best road safety practices, now be applied to transport operation in Ghana. For example, we will register all of them. We will give them all the necessary training that they should. We will give them the necessary capacities that they should have, and also ensure that all their drivers are really certified. They go through the proper training. We give them sanctions if they fail to comply with the standards. In fact, we will be operating like the aviation industry. And we're looking forward to, when the LI is passed, a particular transport operator who continuously creates this kind of problems for Ghana can be sanctioned, and your license can be revoked. I think this will send very strong signals to some of these operators to set up and put in place the necessary mechanisms to protect human life and property. But I think at this stage, we're not happy at all. We're not.
David Adonting is Director of Planning of National Road Safety Authority. I'm grateful for your time. Now, street lane at the base of the Asafo interchange in Kumasi has been deteriorating for years without receiving the needed attention. Road users say the underpass, which is riddled with gullies, pose threat to public safety. Kofi Asari has filed this report.
The Asafo interchange was constructed to ease traffic congestion at the Asafo Market enclave in Kumasi. This underpass, serving as an exit for motorists, is however not receiving the needed attention as the road keeps deteriorating. Drivers are disgusted at the level of negligence.
I burst my car tire right here last year. The road is a major worry to us. It is so painful paying road worth every year, and our road is not being fixed.
Pedestrians are prone to receive a splash of muddy water when they use the area.
We are going through a lot here.
Shop owners are equally worried at the negative impact on their businesses.
The cars always splash water on us, which made me contract an Abobo yard driver to do something about it for me at a cost of 60 cedis. This place always gets flooded when it rains. No one cares about us. We are going through a lot of challenges.
Assembly member for the Asafo electoral area, Ernest Okai, says,
I've officially lodged a complaint at the urban roads, and I've reliably informed that the road has been given to a contract that has been given to Griner Constructions, a Portuguese company. So we are all looking forward for the contractor to come on site. I'm urging the urban roads to, as a matter of urgency, attend to the situation to make the road more trouble for motorists to ply the road.
Kofi Asari's report read to you.
Residents of Tonto Krom in the Amansia South District of the Ashanti region are demonstrating against the deplorable nature of the roads in the area. They say armed men have taken advantage of the situation to rob them. The residents want government to take a second look at the road and construct them as quickly as possible. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
Clad in red, the residents chant to express their displeasure over the bad roads. Several appeals by the residents in the past have not yielded positive results. According to them, armed robbers terrorize them each passing day.
I was on my way to that tunnel, and when I reached to Akotokrim Hill, armed robbers pointed a gun at me and warned me not to move or they will kill me. They hit me in the back with the gun and took all my valuables.
Last week Tuesday, I'm here. Yes, at about
7:10 last Tuesday, I took a taxi at the tunnel to Tontokrom. Immediately we took the cave at Akotokrim. Armed robbers pounced on us. They took 30,000 from me and they hit me with something. It was never easy. When I was coming this morning too, there was an alert that armed robbers were at Dadiase, a village before the tunnel.
The
residents want government's protection.
Emma, 2 years ago, the former district chief executive brought security personnel to man the area. The armed robbery incident reduced. When they left 2 weeks ago, on the instructions of the government, armed robbers are back on the roads.
Tokorim is one of the hotspots where the robbers mount barriers to rob innocent residents and traders. There is poor road network and telecom connectivity.
Every Tuesday, on Market Day, the armed robbers rob the traders. They mount a barrier at Akotokrim, where it has damaged bridge and poor telecommunication network and rob traders. This occurred 3 times in 2 weeks. This is a matter of great concern to the people of Tontokrom. Exactly 3 days ago, similar incidents happened at the tunnel. The armed robbers took away an amount of 500,000 from a trader.
Almost 5 billion.
The police station built is here to receive the attention of the Ghana Police Service. The residents are seeking the deployment of security personnel to ease armed robbery cases. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
And still in the Ashanti region, residents living along the dust-polluted Lake Road in that region are fuming as a mother mourns her 13-year-old asthmatic child who had an attack and died on her way from school. Mother of the deceased says her daughter's exposure to the extreme dust on the road may have triggered her attack. This is yet to be medically ascertained, but her death has triggered urgent calls for the government to fix the road or force the contractor to constantly wet the road. Love FM's Erastus Asaridonko visited the family of little Stella Sefa and spoke with other asthmatic residents living in the heavily polluted environment.
A mother mourns her 13-year-old girl who succumbed to an asthma attack on her way from school about 2 weeks ago. The bubbly little Stella Sefa was asthmatic with a sensitive allergy to dust, according to her mother.
Her
doctor has warned us against many triggers for her asthma. The biggest factor amongst them is dust. On February 9th this year, Stella had an asthmatic attack on the dusty Lake Road. She did not survive. Her mother, Elizabeth Asaribidiako, believes her exposure to the dusty road that day triggered her asthma. I'm confident her attack was caused by her exposure to the dust that day. I was told her car broke down and she had to stand by the roadside for some time for the car to be fixed. When she's having an attack, she tries to control herself. She becomes silent, and neighbors to attest to the fact that she was silent that day when she was brought in. If not for the dust, I wouldn't have lost my daughter. Medical superintendent of the Pramso Hospital, Dr. Samuel Yao Edu, says the girl was dead on arrival.
She was brought to this hospital, but unfortunately, when she was brought, she was found that she had died.
The Lake Road construction project has stalled after the 2020 elections. The dust pollution here is severe. Residents like Charlotte Ajikum, herself asthmatic, are reeling under the constant pollution. My asthma is triggered by the dust. When I'm exposed to the dust by the roadside, I sneeze consistently, and then the attack follows, and I struggle to breathe. The residents say project contractor Kofi Job Construction seldom wets the road, forcing schools like High Academy Annex, Aputuja, to hire people to keep the dust down. Gabriel Asamoah is headmaster.
One of our kids was an asthmatic. He fell down at assembly, all because of the dust. As I'm speaking with you, we have people that always water the road for us, else we can't bear the situation.
Figures at the Pramso Hospital on that stretch show a decline in general attendance. Dr. Samuel Yao Edu says the dust pollution could be a factor.
In general, our attendance has dropped. For instance, if we take asthma, 2018, we recorded a total of 284 cases. 2019, we recorded a total of 412. Then 2020, a total of 290. If you look at it, you see that from 2019 to 2020, there's a downtrend. But of course, the road network, I won't say that's the only thing, but the road network too, people, sometimes they don't even get vehicles to come to hospitals. So when they are sick, they prefer staying home.
Though there is no signs linking the death of little Stella to asthma and dust, but in the midst of dust pollution like this one, any asthmatic patient will have a problem leading to possible death. Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Asaredonko, Lake Road, Bosomtwe, Kumasi.
Quite a dusty road. Now, a number of air transport passengers were today stranded at the Kotoka International Airport following an indefinite strike declared by the workers' union to demand the dismissal of the MD of the company, who they accuse of mismanagement and contract inflation. The strike affected other local airports, forcing a grounding of airplanes and literally bringing operations of the airport to a halt. It took the intervention of the Minister-designate for National Security, Kandapa, and colleagues from the Employment and Transport Ministries to resolve the challenge, albeit temporarily. Now, for now, the strike has been suspended for further consultations. My colleague Kwekwa Asante was at the airport and has more in the following report.
For hours, air transport passengers to various destinations within Ghana and abroad were stranded as the strike of the Ghana Airport Company Limited Workers Union continued to bite. The union had declared an indefinite strike in demand of the sacking of the MD of the company, Yao Kwakwa, accusing him of mismanagement and inflation of contract sums, among others. Some stranded passengers spoke to JoyNews.
Where are you traveling to and how is this impacting you?
Oh, Takrady. Yes.
And so, since you've been here, have you received any official information from staff members?
Basically, they are saying they are on strike. So we're just waiting if it will happen. If not, we are just waiting for the next announcement. If it's going to happen, that's fine. If not, then we would have to go back. So it's unfortunate anyway.
Will you want to use some other means to get to where you are going?
Oh, well, we either drive, we either drive. But I mean, if we had to drive, we would have done that at dawn. You understand? So there's some form of urgency, and some of these things are unfortunate anyway.
Travel to go Tamara, Tamara.
And then since you've been here, they said they are on strike.
6 morning, 6 p.m. Didn't say play, we don't go.
Lots of airplane have been cancelled, so not many chance to take an airplane yet.
Right. So how long will you wait before you take some other means to travel?
Oh, I'm planning very earlier. I need to planning earlier. So.
Some hours into the strike, ministers designate for national security, Kandapa, and employment and labor relations, Ignatius Bafo Ewa, came in to try and talk out the union of the strike. They were later joined by their colleague Minister Designate for Transport, Kweku Ofori Esiama. They succeeded and had the airport staff call off the strike, but temporarily, for the leaders to go into another meeting with government officials to resolve the issues.
Is that for the respect for the states and the minister that have also come here, we want to halt the action and go into the meeting. At the end of the meeting, we will communicate to you the next line of action.
So we are halting the strike temporarily.
We are halting the action temporarily. It is a partial withdrawal of some services, but we are halting it temporarily and go into a meeting. Right after the meeting, we will meet you again and communicate the final decision to you. Those with the power to take final decision on some of the issues that are obvious, also in the committee's report and the board interaction with us, the former minister's interaction with us, we believe that there must be finality to the issues that are going. I think that we cannot actually continue to affect the operations of the airport. We know how sensitive the operations of the airport is. We cannot continue. And today there must be finality to all the issues.
Deputy General Secretary of the Public Services Workers Union, John Sampa there. Moments after this announcement, workers returned to their posts and passengers who were still waiting were taken through former pre-travel arrangement. It's been a long wait for many of them, but this may not be over, especially as the key demand of the union for MD Yao Kwakwa to be removed has still not been heeded to.
Now, after close to 6 hours of strike by the workers' union, which brought the airport onto its knees, members of the union have agreed to call off the strike until at least 15th March after a marathon meeting with the Chief of Staff and government representatives in the Transport and Employment Ministries. We'll keep an eye on that and bring you any latest development. But in Kumasi, passengers scheduled to travel to Accra were left stranded Friday morning due to a strike by the airport staff. For close to 4 hours, frustrated passengers expressed disappointment at the turn of events. Prince Appiah was at the airport to gauge the mood of passengers before and after the strike was called off.
Here in the Ashanti region, the Kumasi International Airport, a number of the passengers who have been here since 6 in the morning to catch the 6:30 flight have all been very much stranded. I should say that right from that time till this time, a number of them have gone home one after the other. Others have decided to go by bus to Accra. Others have also said that they cannot catch their business activities they're supposed to engage in Accra, and so they had to postpone it.
My flight was supposed to take off around 7:45, and as at 7:20, my luggages hadn't been checked in, and I went to the reception to ask, and then they told me Ghana airports are on strike, and that is what is keeping me. I don't know what time.
I'm going to school. I actually have an exam at 3 p.m., a mid-semester exam at 3 p.m. Got to them, I contacted the people, they were like, okay, we should hold on, maybe in about an hour we'll go. We were supposed to leave at 7:30. That was a departure. It is now past 9. I'm considering going to Asafo to pick a bus. and leave. For the midterm, definitely I'm going to miss it out. I doubt I can make it.
I'm a reverend minister. I'm going to Takoradi for certain conference. From there, go to Cape Coast to meet a person, then return back and come back to Kumasi. But I've been thrown completely off board. Now I have to find a means to get to Cape Coast directly.
And still to come in this bulletin, we'll bring you a story of how disability has pinned a 27-year-old to the ground. He has never walked nor sat. In business, some major oil marketing companies adjust fuel prices upwards following rising prices of finished petroleum products on the international market. Charles Arite comes in shortly with the details.
Hello, good evening. It's time for business. I'm Charles Arite. Some of the major oil marketing companies have adjusted upwards their prices. One of the market leaders, Shell, selling a liter of petrol and diesel at 5 cedis 32 pesos. This represents more than 2% increase in the prices of the petroleum products. Joy Business is learning that other OMCs will follow suit to adjust their prices upwards from now. The adjustment has been influenced by rising prices of finished petroleum products on the international market. The increment could also trigger increase in transport fares. The Chamber of Petroleum Consumers says that the development makes a strong case for governments to remove some taxes on fuel to cushion consumers. Well, away from that, the Institute for Energy Security is calling on government to, as a matter of urgency, provide the necessary facilities to offload the excess gas that is being produced to ensure value for money. According to a study by the energy think tank, the natural gas subsector is rapidly becoming a fiscal burden to the country due to poor energy strategies. And therefore, there shouldn't be any delay in the building of the necessary relevant infrastructure to offset the processed domestic gas. Fritz Moses is a research fellow with the IS, and he spoke earlier on Business Live.
We are seeing a rise in the debts owed by the GNPC to the various GNGC to GNPC. And this is because of our inability to take the gas that's produced due to the take-or-pay clauses that we have in the contracts that were signed between the GOG and the various producers. And we're also seeing that there's going to be an increase in production exploration in the various fields, with the contract being extended to Accra Energy, all of that essence. And these figures that we are seeing, for example, in 2019 we saw, or the 2020 figures for the production of natural gas was about 160 million standard cubic feet.
Right.
And that in itself is costing the states about $54 million for the excess that we are not able to use. And so we think that this actually is not a good
right
step, or it doesn't help the Ghanaian economy, because essentially what it does is it results in an increase in tariffs. That's basically what the natural gas that we are providing is used for the power industry, for the various IPPs to produce the power that we need. So in the event where we are buying these gas that we are producing from these fields, and we are not able to also use them, we are paying for the excess that we are using, then it means that we are going to pay more for gas.
Now, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, is calling for the immediate suspension of the marine insurance law, which takes effect from March 1st. I spoke to the president, Dr. Joseph Obin.
We import into this country, 80% of these goods are not under our custody until the goods have reached here and we pay the last penny to collect our documents. It's still under the custody of the supplier, because most of these goods are sold on credit. and the supplier also have a stake, and he has his insurance people who do this. Did they think about these things? Because they did not consult us. They have approached us to do the marine insurance for us and all that, and they were not attractive. That's why in the entire market share, they are having only 6%. They didn't think through, because most of us were not represented. They didn't seek, because how can you enact a law that is not practicable? How can your supplier, who is making LC probably of 180 days, you are going to pay 180 days. So he is equally interested in the goods that you have even cleared, because not until you've paid the last money, the goods doesn't belong to you.
And that's it for business. I'm Charles I. Sports is up next.
Thanks for staying with us here on JoyNews Prime Time to bring you sports. My name is Hans Mensah Andor, and Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Accra Heart of Folk will be clashing this weekend in what has come to be known as the Super Clash. Well, when the two teams meet, it's often fireworks, but something will be missing from that game, and that is the fans. Joining me via Zoom is sports journalist Nuhu Adams with our Tree Network Insure FM in Kumasi. Nuhu, thank you very much. And I mean, this is the clash every football-loving fan in Ghana looks forward to when the fixtures for the season is announced.
Absolutely. When you are in a country where about 90% of football fans are supporting either House of Folk or Kumasi Asante Kotoko, you would always expect that clash to be super, and that's why it is called Super Clash. This is a game that can define a club's season. Coaches can get fired. Some players might not get playing time again if they don't do well in fixtures like this. A season or a team can also get his season back on track by winning or getting a very good result from the Super Clash. So this is the biggest football game in Ghana, the biggest football match in Ghana's history, and that's it. It's going to be fireworks. Even though we are not going to have the fans at the stadium, you should expect the intensity, the tension of this game to be so high.
We'll be getting into what, the fans' absence would take away from this game, but let's talk about the form of these two sides. Back-to-back victory for the Phobians at Asante Kotoko, of course. They've been eliminated from Africa, and so their focus will be on the Ghana Premier League. What do the form guide tell us ahead of this game?
Well, if you look at the league table and the performances of the two teams, House of Folk have been scoring many goals, more than what Asante Kotoko have been doing. But I think per the position, Kumasi Asante Kotoko are a bit ahead of Accra House of Folk. Even though they are not conceding much, they are also not conceding. They've conceded only 6 goals in the season, and that makes them the best defensive side in the league. Looking at House of Folk, they've scored 26 goals, but have conceded 14 goals. And Kotoko are just a point behind Accra House of Folk. They are on the same points, 23 points, but Kumasi Asante Kotoko are having 2 games in hand. So should they win the 2 games, they overtake House of Folk on the league table. So that gives Kumasi Asante Kotoko the edge over Accra House of Folk going into the game. But we all know matches of this nature, your form, and whatever form guide you are in does not usually play a huge role. It's about how you psych yourself up. It's about the motivation you give to your players, the encouragement your players get, and everything that goes into the fixture that will give you the win or the maximum points. So, yes, on paper, Kotoko are favorites. They are coming from Africa, and we want to appease their fans with that disappointment with the win over House of Folk. But in the last 2 weeks, it hasn't been pleasant at House of Folk. Supporters demonstrating here and there against the ball and all that.
Definitely.
This is the right time for House of Folk to also turn things around by getting a win over Massachusetts. So we are in for a very
well, we are in for an interesting clash, and of course the fans will not be there. Many thanks for joining me, Nuhu Adams. He, of course, is a sports journalist. Let's get into the English Premier League and check out the fixtures for this weekend. Manchester City expected to grab all 3 points as they come up against West Ham United. There's West Bromwich Albion who are taking on Brighton and Hove Albion. Leeds United, high scoring, they take on Aston Villa. Newcastle United will play Wolverhampton Wanderers. A lot of these teams, these fixtures, quite balanced. It could go either way. Crystal Palace will be looking to take 3 points against Fulham. Leicester are up against Arsenal. Spurs will play Burnley. The big one this weekend is Chelsea versus Manchester United at Stamford Bridge, and Sheffield United will take on Liverpool as Liverpool hope to get back to winning ways in the Premier League. That's it for sports. Many thanks for your time. My name is Hans Mensa Ando.
And it's time for Showbiz. Becky is here with the very latest. Hello, beautiful lady.
Hi, Aisha. How you doing?
I'm in love with your hair.
Oh, thank you. That's my
You're blushing,
natural
right?
hair. You can see through my mask. But Aisha, you know that Samini and Shatawale, they've been going, back and forth on social media. Samini said that he was going to release this song to Shatawale or for Shatawale today, and he's released it. It's titled Johnny. So for those of you who haven't heard it, let's hit it. Necessary. What we need is money in the industry.
Yeah, of course.
Every time there is beef or anything close to beef, misunderstanding, I don't like, anybody that knows me, I don't like trouble. If I step on somebody's toes and I know that person is going around saying, I feel bad. I want the quickest way to make up and let's get back to happy ways. So every time I see misunderstandings going on social media among artists especially, it's sad because the industry is very small. Like, we have such a small industry. We shouldn't be letting petty things divide us. So I'll just hope that all parties involved can come to an amicable, end to this. Like, let's come together, discuss it, trash it, let's move on, make bangers. Charlie, we need money. Let's come together and make the music that will bring us money. Fights and this said this, this said that, this said you didn't do this.
Yeah. Okay, so Fantana has been off the music scene for 8 months. Yeah, so she's back, and she's back with a new song. She was on Daybreak 8 this morning, and she's been talking about how she had to take a break to take care of herself and take care of her creative mind, because she's realized that when she came into the industry, she was going back and forth. She didn't know what to do, but she needed that time.
Okay.
Yeah. We should also take some
I hear she's
time
heavily
endowed behind.
She's heavily representing the people of Jomoro. Shout out to you then.
Your favorite man, Kofi Kinata, is also in the
Kofi Kinata.
He was on Showbiz now on Joy Prime.
Okay.
He is very excited and very surprised
about behind the scenes. I mean, the response he's gotten.
And also
the endorsement he had recently from Neil and Tevan Dapol.
Interview, your interview.
For my interview.
Yes.
Then he says he's now calling Neil and father-in-law already.
Let's listen.
Welcome back to JoyNews Prime, to the rest of our stories. The Inspector General of Police, James Opombuenu, worried about the recent seaside incidents among some personnel of the Ghana Police Service. According to him, the unhealthy incidents have necessitated the need to build sustainable mental health system to promote the health and well-being of the police personnel while improving their core mandate of ensuring peace, safety, and security in the country. Speaking at the commissioning of a conference hall for the Central Regional Police Command, the IGP James Opombuenu also addressed issues on LGBT and the DCE that assaulted the policeman at Ejumako in the Central Region. Richard Kwejanyako has more.
The IGP, James Opombuenu, intimated it had become necessary to mainstream training in mental health at all levels of police training institutions. According to the IGP, this has become necessary as a result of the increasing cases of personnel of the service committing suicide. He explains the police administration is working closely with the Ghana Psychology Association to build the mental health capacity of personnel to overcome emotional, domestic, and job-related issues which have the tendency to trigger suicide among some personnel.
Within the next few days, we are going to roll out some telephone numbers of experts which you can call, and you'll be given prompt counseling and assistance. Some of them are police officers, some of them are not. If you do not feel free, if you do not feel comfortable in speaking to a police officer, you address your challenge to an expert. Let us know privately. If you happen to find any of our officers in a situation which you think could lead him to depression and therefore a suicide case, if you let the regional commander of every region know, you will let us know, and then we'll find out what to do, or we'll do what is required in the circumstances.
James Opombuenu also addressed the security personnel on the recent clash between a sergeant of the Ghana Armed Forces and police personnel at Eyifua in Cape Coast, in which a military man was assaulted. He says the unfortunate incident leaves much to be desired.
We must remember that we are all in one boat. What we all seek is to ensure that there is peace for the ordinary Ghanaian. And therefore, we should not be having fisticuffs between ourselves. When this happened, I got in touch with the Chief of Defense Staff, and we set up a joint committee. The committee has completed its work and submitted the report. And I can assure you that we implement the recommendations of the committee.
The IGP says upon the advice of the Attorney General, the DC for the Jumako Enyan Esiam, Ransford Kwesi Nyako, and 8 others who allegedly assaulted a police officer on duty and freed a suspect from custody would be prosecuted in the coming days.
The advice that the Attorney General has given, we will work on it. The Attorney General has recommended that we should prosecute the officers involved. The persons involved, not the officers, the persons who beat up the police officer.
The IGP cautioned the general public to desist from attacking people they suspect are homosexuals, but allow the laws of the country to work. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Richard Kwejo from Cape Coast.
One person has died from gunshot wounds after a violent clash between the Ejumakese and Bomfa communities in the Ashanti region. The two peri-urban communities in the Efija Kwabre South District clashed over a land boundary dispute. Police say calm has been restored as investigations continue.
The youth of Bomfa and Ejumakase have been engaged in reprisal attacks over a land dispute. According to police accounts, armed personnel who arrived in the area Thursday evening to restore law and order were caught in a crossfire. Police Public Relations Officer ASP Gordon Ahianyo says one police officer who was hit by an object fired live ammunition at two of the irate youths. One of them later died at the hospital from the gunshot wounds.
During the attack, one Sergeant Achampon was hit with a foreign material. As a result, he fell, and he also had to resort to the firearm. Unfortunately, 2 persons got injured. And this morning, our understanding is that one of them has passed on to eternity. The regional police command has taken up the matter. He has referred it to the regional CID for them to unravel the circumstances that led to the attacks on the police officer and the damage on the police vehicle, as well as the firing of the shot leading to the death of this individual. We have our CID men on the ground. They are also monitoring events. We are taking statements, and whatever evidential material we are supposed to pick with regard to this very issue, we will do that. So I would say the police will be there, even if not in uniform. Some CID men will be there to elicit information on the ground.
Leaders of the two communities met with the Ashanti Regional Police Commander to broker peace. The Bonfahine Nana Kwekuchibesi and Ejumakase Kesehine Nana Senswa Bebiu described the incident as unfortunate. They called for calm among the youth as Asantehene looked into the land dispute.
We are pleading with the youth to maintain calm. Let's forget about what happened. We will all die one day. Maybe it was destined to happen. Let's all be calm. The Otumfo has the final say, and I know he will ensure calm is restored.
Police say investigation continues on a shooting leading to the death of one.
Minister Designate for Trade and Industry, Alan Chermantin, says prioritizing cashew will be one of his topmost priorities if given the nod. In 2018, Ghana earned about $378 million from the export of raw cashew nuts. Answering a question on what policies he will put in place to add value to the raw cashew, he says his office will work in collaboration with the Cashew Development Authority to achieve this. He made the comments when he appeared before the vetting committee in Parliament today.
To the launching of a new national export development strategy. And one of the commodities that we prioritize is cashew, and not just exporting raw cashew, but actually processing and adding value to cashew. The major constraint with the processing of cashew is that there are, I would say, traders from all over the world that offer higher prices to cashew farmers, and as it were, entice them to sell their cashew crop to them for raw export rather than giving their products or commodities to the processors, because the processors have a limitation on how much they can buy, you know, if they want to be competitive on the global market for processed cashew. And so there's always that tension between the price offered by, let's say, these traders as compared to the processors. But fortunately, under the Tree Crop Development Authority, again, cashew has been prioritized. And so part of the work that the Cashew Development Authority will be doing, particularly, I know that's also not under my ministry, but we'll work with them closely to ensure that there's enough cashew crop to support our processing industry.
A strange disability has pinned him to the ground for 27 years. He has never walked nor sat. He lives alone with his mother in a poor rural community in the Volta region. That's the story of Mao Femo, who we found struggling painfully through life on the floor. Some viewers would find sections of the images disturbing. Viewer discretion is however advised.
Aro tamara mawakpo rokunya mama bubang unawanya ndong daku.
If there's really a God, then he has his ways. Maupemo, that's the name of this boy. The name literally means the ways of God in the Ewe language. Maupemo has never been able to sit up. He has never walked. He doesn't call.
I'm for 27 years. Danya kononya kono home me ala china aklang siang ma ko nyanto ma tengklo na aklang budwe nyanto maruni kana fojinya toma you know dape para bone ko nyanto matena ina reji avano ajino ayida foja na mo vo dana kpogbonya na danya kpogbonya vo danya gabona masmo tutugana na garo homa iya oga kom na koma aba baragbo aba raditeng nyante tena hainara homa.
He only moves around by dragging the weight of his body on the bare floor by himself. Living like this has not been easy for him at all. Every day is another enduring burden of survival.
Nyatak pala nya kok pala nya liono never.
Life has stolen a lot from Maupemo. His ability to sit, walk, and even the chance to socialize. So his only window to know and understand the world is through this radio set. It tells him everything. Maupemo is the last of 10 siblings. His mother finds the situation very depressing. Sometimes he even wants to give up. But Maupemo is also a gift from God, she says.
I shall for Papa Taflachi for Hava Jumbo, Brian Tanya Kajin Kovachi, Maraku, Magrania, Yapadi, Boram Yeruna. Barakui de Tarang, Barabu, Mate Cornu, Tamabrabi High and Tona Force Roki, you know, Manamashi, Inada Homa. A Rubarabun Diana, Bovan on your Vampania Lee, Time Mate Cornuta, in Tofos Roki Donada, go to. Oh, Yamau, no, Mauna Baramunia. No, no, son, and Manu, a party in the Miano. A Rudum. Conan of 4 holy sa or to Tunanana. Ah, Maupa Dodashi. Yeah, come out call you, Queen Malaco, Yamo, who I love her.
Maupemo's mother carries him everywhere. But that is becoming a very difficult chore. Because as Maupemo is growing and becoming heavier, his mother is also growing older and weaker by the day. Maupemo's disability appears mysterious to his own mother and the neighbors in a small community. The family has suffered a lot of stigma as a result. But this is a very poor family that cannot afford the cost of a comprehensive medical diagnosis of the condition. Here's Tony, a neighbor. He also helps to take care of Maupemo when his mother is unable.
Maupemo majishi, alaba mavanagboha, ke aleo la iku awanang blainam, alaba na dada dua, ida kaku China afia, o dada matenyi nonoga ku adasha tama, umdudu pletoma o afuraga, tana dada irashi aro belema o ida kaku China ni, adu yonam. Na gai mo du go na ma o hia bo kwi akoira ho ro chi bona lo to yo na ma va ko ni adana de homa ta ale le na do nyu to re o te ngo ayu doi akpo e fa abo ple atau bo o te ngo kakare ma bale ka amanto to le na akakare ma vie.
Maupemo believes in miracles. he has a certain strong conviction that he'd experience a real miracle someday. Maybe soon.
Majiba walk parenting na majason na Diana go for pepper because Daniel Fukpamapa Adakuku na ba on your ties yaro moto aten walk parent.
Very sad story. Support from the public will not be out of order. But last week, Joy News aired the story of Georgina Yawa Ankara, the frail-looking woman who is physically challenged and is struggling to raise her daughter with disability. The story attracted lots of reactions and support from our audience. But one key personality who was touched by the report filed by my colleague Beryl Ernestina Richter and moved in to support is the First Lady, Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo. Madam Yawa has started receiving medical treatment at a facility in Accra. Here's Dr. Salamatu Nang-Dokma, family physician specialist, giving us updates on Yawa's situation. She spoke with Daniel Dazi earlier today on Prime Morning.
Madam Georgina Yawa, she's doing well. I saw her the last time yesterday in the evening. She initially said she had diabetes, and that has been confirmed. And she's gone through a series of medical examinations and to be able to ascertain whether she has some complications related to diabetes, which she does. But she's only doing well. She's presently on admission because we need to control the blood sugar and be able to determine what doses of medication are appropriate for her use at home. So that's where we are now with her.
Will she require any specialized procedure?
For now, no. But as we investigate further, we'll know whether there are some complications, need some other interventions other than what we are doing now.
Now, I'm looking at the video of Georgina now, and I know you can't go into details of her condition, but she's so thin, she's so emaciated. Is that related to her illness?
Yes, those are some of the complications you can have when diabetes or blood glucose is not well controlled or is not being managed well. So that's why you see her in that way. And of course, caregiving has not been the best for her as well. Diabetes, if not managed, can be fatal. And like I said, we are still investigating further to see how bad or how much complications are now present because of the diabetes. But for now, she's stable. Okay. At least as of yesterday, I saw her. We pray that she'll be fine.
From where you sit, what would Georgina need immediately to make her life more comfortable and aid her treatment?
I think to a large extent, she's had a good support, at least since we started seeing her. She financially and everything is being paid for with laboratory investigations and all that. I think to a large extent now, Madam Yawa needs just a lot of care. And of course, managing diabetes goes beyond the hospital. It goes into the community. It goes into who monitors her as even if we prepare her to let her go home. But the neighbor has been a very good source of support. And then the Rebecca Foundation as well has been very supportive. So we are hoping that if that care continues at home and that support, she will do well.
Well, Catholic priest Reverend Father Andrew Campbell earlier this morning visited Yawa at the hospital and also went to the child's school to interact with the teachers.
Okay.
The first time we went there, the mother told us St. Patrick used to come to give us our money. That was 2 years ago when we went there. But now she hasn't stayed home. The Monday she will come in. The 4th of
Video? Yeah, a video with a photo with pictures.
She painted here recently?
She did.
This is the 3 days to do.
So where's all her things?
In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, mothers and children in the northeast region of Ghana are battling poverty and starvation. The Chinese embassy, in response to this, has joined hands with UNICEF to support the region with nutrition supplies. Judith Awachitando has more in this report.
The Northeast region, which is part of the newly established regions, has been bedeviled with several infrastructural challenges and poverty. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated the impact of poverty on residents of the region. Children are starving, especially during this dry season, where food is hard to come by. The Ghana Statistical Service reports 1 out of 3 children in the Northeast region are at risk of stunted growth as compared to the national average of 1 out of 6. This is posing serious threats to the lives of these children. Dr. Kofi Issa is director of the Family and Health Division of the Upper East Regional Directorate.
As far as I can remember as a health worker, there have always been problems with nutrition of children in this country. You will still find there are pockets of acute malnutrition in children. Already the amount of food available to the household is not that very much. Sometimes with poor harvest and all that, then becomes the critical issue of who gets what. And so our customs and other barriers make sure that the pregnant woman and maybe the children and the 5 are always the last in the queue to get these foods. So once they get into the acute stage, you would need food such as this RUTF to be able to quickly bring them out.
The Chinese embassy, in collaboration with UNICEF, is therefore supporting the Ghana Health Service with nutrition supplies. Deputy representative of UNICEF in Ghana, Fiakra Makasi, explains this initiative is only a means to curb the harmful effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on the welfare of children in the region.
Given the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic places extra risk on the delivery of essential health and nutrition services, we felt that to support that region with the kind donation of the China aid would make a lot of sense in pre-positioning some essential foods there. For example, we have essential therapeutic food. I'm holding this one. It's called plumpy nut. This in itself will help a severely malnourished child who is at 12 times at risk of death compared to an undernourished or properly nourished child. This in itself will help to stabilize them and put them in a good position to survive.
The embassy, however, expects further help from the national coffers to supplement what they have given. Judith Awachitando, JoyNews.
I'm back here in the studio. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Some concerned citizens of Etrima and Wabieja South Municipality in the Ashanti region are demanding accountability in the use of internally generated funds of the Assembly. The group claims all projects in the area were initiated by the Member of Parliament, Emmanuel J. Ajere. They were therefore asking the Municipal Chief Executive, Michael Amuewuku, to account to them on the use of the Assembly's IGF. Ahmed Nuruddin reports from Kumasi.
Addressing a press conference, Secretary for the group, Kobina Daku, alleged the MCE has failed to drive development to the area.
With this, we are not keeping mute on issues concerning the leadership within the municipal, especially the outgoing MCE, Honorable Michael Amuewuku, who have performed abysmal and have caused the municipal to a standstill in the sector of development. The MCE have underperformed within the past 4 years and needs to be stepped aside for a competent person to continue from where he has brought us to. We are basing our claims on his incompetence on the following. It is only under his watch that the receipt for payment of permit is issued by a written statement. It is never done in any office or institution of the government office. This is a clear indication of corruption and which we need not to entertain such acts in our country. A fee fixing for fencing a building on a plot of land should not be above 500 Ghana cedi per the assembly concept, but someone were made to pay 4,000 Ghana for that. The victim felt cheated, so he contacted someone who knows the assembly concept very well, and he is in the person of Mr. Kusibuafo for clarification. He was made known that the amount involved is too high, therefore he directed the victim to visit the MCE office for clarification, maybe for a refund or for better explanation, but the MCE office did nothing about it. And there are numerous acts of such behavior going on within the assembly under the MCE watch. The auction of the only caterpillar or grader at the assembly is also a clear indication of corruption in the eyes of the people looking at how fast it were made and the amount involved.
The concerned residents of Achumawarinja South want President Akufo-Addo to investigate the MCE's management of the municipality in the last 4 years.
All we want to tell Mr. President, His Excellency, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the listening president, the people's choice, to listen to the voice of the people of Achumawarinja South and grant us our wish of not reappointing the outgoing MCE, Honorable Michael Amwa-Wukus, again. Moreover, it will serve the best interest of the people and the municipal if a delegation is sent by the government to investigate and find out from the grassroots if they are happy with the development project in the municipality and to our chiefs and elders in our communities. We know that all of you are highly disappointed in our MCE because he has been the barrier between the people and development in Achumawarinja South.
Yes, the MCE declined speaking to JoyNews on the matter. A report by Mohamed Nuruddin.
Contractors for Kumeu Hospital project are waiting for funds to be disbursed for work to commence on the stalled project. Despite returning to site, the final hurdle in the process of securing funding is yet to be passed by the Ministry of Finance. Already, the contractors are undertaking some external works as they await the required financing for the project. Anaya Ojima has more.
The Ashanti Regional Minister-designate, Simon Osei-Mensah, toured some hospital facilities which missed completion dates. Government on different occasions assured the Kumeu Hospital will resume work in the first term of the administration. Here is the then Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, on one of the occasions.
End of the month, they will mobilize to site and start working seriously in that place.
Though work could not start as promised, it is progressing steadily. For about a month, contractors have returned to site, undertaking some external works. Sami Okain is site manager for NMSI at Kumeu.
The contractor identify areas where we need to do, where we will not spend much more than, and we have stipulated time in doing what we are doing. So the contractor is doing the car park, the walkways. Inside there's an MEP guy coming. He has to ascertain what is there already to say, yes, 4 years now, all these conduits are in good condition. We can continue. The pipes in it, no. We have to change some of them. This MEP or who is not in it, we are all boiled down to funding. That's what we are saying.
Kumeu and Fomuna are part of 7 facilities financed by the United Kingdom Export Financing, and work was to be completed in 2019. The government says a total of $38.3 million out of contract sum of $175 million was found at the period of transition in 2016. The amount, they say, was too small to complete all 7 projects. Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah explains reasons for delay of funds.
Now we are all acting. We are in acting capacity as the Transitional Act provides. And there are limitations to the amount and work that each of the ministers can do. Nobody can approve anything above 5 million. And you see, 5 million when it comes to projects is insignificant. And for this matter, there are several things that cannot be approved by the ministers. We are praying that by middle of March, maybe most of us will have been cleared, and then we can start work in earnest. But you know, it's not too bad.
Meanwhile, work on the 50-bed Konongo Hospital is nearing completion. Structures are fully done, awaiting furnishing and equipment installation. Ahmed Masood is Eurojet, the Inverse resident engineer at Konongo Hospital.
From construction issue like electrical and civil and all layout workers, maybe 6 weeks from now. Okay, in end of March, maybe finish everything concerning the construction. But we maybe take one month to make test and commission and medical furniture and the medical equipment testing everything. Okay, but we will do the best to minimize this time.
Mr. Osei-Mensah says roads linking the hospital and the community will be improved. Nana Ojima reporting.
We'll take a break on JoyNews. We'll bring you more business with Charles Aite.
And it's time for business. I'm Charles Aite. The Minister Designate for Trade and Industry, Alan Chemantin, has revealed that government has initiated plans to support the manufacturing of car parts by local automobile dealers. According to him, this is one of many decentralization plans to create jobs in the automobile space. He made this known when he appeared before the Ministerial Vetting Committee of Parliament.
Different ways that Ghanaians will be benefiting from this industry. The first and obvious one is through employment and skills development, because the majority of the people that will be employed will be Ghanaians, not just at the lower level, but also at the supervisory and managerial levels. Secondly, there's a significant opportunity for Ghanaians to also become dealers. Although initially the trend is for existing dealers who may not necessarily be Ghanaians, who are now the local partners of the, let's say, big automobile companies. We, as part of our policy, have insisted that we need to decentralize the dealership of these locally produced vehicles, particularly as you move out of Accra, Kumasi, and the big centers. So I think there's general agreement, and the current dealers who are working with the big companies themselves are very pleased about this, because they cannot overextend themselves to every part of the country. So if my very good friend Honorable Ayariga wants to take up the dealership for Volkswagen in the whole of the northern regions, obviously that becomes an opportunity, an economic opportunity. So that's another area that they would benefit. Another area that they will benefit is also in terms of component manufacturing. Because in the long run, when you assemble cars, you do not optimize your benefits until you start producing the component parts. And so we know that we have the capacity in this country, with the support of new technology, let's say, to develop Swami into a major component manufacturing hub. And we've had discussions with the global companies that are already showing up in this country, and they are very excited, because the closer you are to your components for the assembly, the cheaper and more efficient it is for you. So they are very interested in supporting local content, not just in terms of employment, but in terms of component assembly.
Government is being urged to merchandise cocoa farming in order to improve the sector's market offering. According to the president of the University of Ghana Business School Alumni Association, Dr. Kuku Ofosisari, the conditions of cocoa farmers still leave much to be desired. A situation he fears, if not attended to, could make the sector grind to a halt in some years to come.
If you study about the developed countries, if you go there, you see how they give priority, pay serious attention to their farmers. Go to where the farmers are, their roads, their water, the facilities that they provide for these farmers. They even provide them subsidies. But when you come to developing countries, and you come to Ghana for that matter, cocoa farmers go to where they live. Access roads, well, some of them are now benefiting from cocoa roads, but basic amenities like water, electricity, schools. You need to watch the videos. I can give you a lot, because I have traveled the length and breadth of this country, gone to so many cocoa communities, and I think that it's about time. Even though Cocoa Board is doing a lot, even though government is doing a bit, I think that we think that we need to do more. Or personally, I think that we need to do more for cocoa farmers. And I'm telling you from experience, I'm a son of cocoa farmers. You know, my father was a cocoa farmer, my mother was a cocoa farmer. I've studied about cocoa farmers and all that. Lived in the cocoa communities, and that is why the young ones are drifting away from the cocoa growing areas. You know, these basic amenities are not there, and most of the time they are neglected in a way. Cocoa farming is a tedious job, and I think that we need to up our game, as it's become a common cliche in Ghana, up your game. We need to improve upon the way we treat cocoa farmers. They should take the center stage. They are not taking the center stage. They have been relegated to the background, and it pains me. My heart bleeds when I go to cocoa communities and they are lacking these basic amenities, and we sit in the comfort of the cities, air-conditioned offices, riding in big cars and all that, and the cocoa farmer has been relegated to the background. So the executives of the Alumni Association, the UGBS, University of Ghana Business Alumni Association, and our brothers at KPMG, about 50% of the employees at KPMG are alumni of the Business School Association. So they supported us, and we went there. It was fascinating to see these cocoa farmers, some of them, the way they embraced us. And they said that at least for once, somebody had thought about them. So we went there with chocolate, we sat with them, we gave them, and you know, you'll be surprised to hear that people have been farming for about 30 years. They have never set eyes on a chocolate. They have never eaten chocolate before. Some of them said they ate chocolate when they were 5 years. Others, a whole chief, said he had not eaten chocolate before. He's been a cocoa farmer for a very long time. So we are redirecting attention from the cities to the rural areas. We think that everybody, when it's cocoa, you know, the rationale behind the chocolate day is encourage Ghanaians to eat chocolate and cocoa-based products. So we are saying that when it's chocolate day, think about the cocoa farmer.
We know about some government intervention. We can talk of pension scheme for cocoa farmers and the rest. What do you make of these interventions that have come up lately?
Well, that's a brilliant, these are brilliant interventions. If you read my thesis, my PhD thesis, is one of my recommendations, what do you call, the pension scheme. And when we interacted with the cocoa farmers, surprisingly, they brought it up. They wanted to find out the modalities of the scheme. But unfortunately, I'm not a politician, so I have recommended that it should be implemented. They've picked it up. I don't know whether they picked it from my thesis, my recommendation, but be that as it may, this policy, this scheme is to be implemented. And I think that it will go a long way to assist cocoa farmers, because currently most of them are aging. The problem we have in the country is that we have aging cocoa farmers, we have aging cocoa trees, and therefore, and we have cocoa farmers predominantly not educated. We need to rethink and redirect the youth into cocoa farm. We can only do that when we provide some of these
Ghana Health Service says it could recommend to the president easing of restrictions and opening up of the economy from June this year. That's if it's able to vaccinate a significant number of residents in Kumasi and the Greater Accra region. These are hot spots by the end of June this year. Government is expected to kickstart a national COVID immunization program in these areas as well as the Obuasi region from next week. Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Bequin, says that he's been given more details about this rollout and Ghana's economic recovery.
Our end product is that let's get these 20 million Ghanaians vaccinated. You see, when you are not able to achieve the herd immunity, it is not the best way you want to go about it, because though you will be trying to improve on your number of immunized persons, there's still the risk of transmission. So you need the numbers. I mean, you need the numbers to be able to get the right kind of interventions in place. So for now, I think that if you look at the data now, it appears that is a bit of kind of plateau. But to be able to do what you want to do, we need the right kind of numbers to be sure that we can go back to a normal state.
So, Doc, sorry, I'm getting back to this, but I'm saying that. So, are you targeting 20 million people ending October? And what period are you working with? Just that to say that, okay, if we're able to get this X number of persons, the Ghana Health Service would then advise the minister, advise the president that we can open up the economy.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that by when you're able to achieve that kind of figures, then clearly you have achieved what we call herd immunity. In that case, like Ghana has come back to the normal state. If that's why we are trying to work in sequential form. You know, our hotspot is Accra and then in Kumasi. So if you're able to, let's say, break transmission in Accra and Kumasi, then clearly it's going to give us the leeway and minimize the rate of infection. Then we can, in that case, we can be sure that gradually we can be able to open it up. So that's why our initial focus is let's get Accra and Kumasi right. Now we are just looking at 600,000 doses.
Of course, that's how we end business. My name is Charles Aite. Coming up next is Sports. To stay.
Installment of Sport and the Youth and Sports Ministry, Minister-designate Mustafa Yusuf says he's committed to making public finding of investigatory institution on the 2018 Commonwealth Games visa scandal. He said this during his vetting on Thursday.
The issue of visa scandal is very worrying, and it is not good image for our country, especially what's happened in Australia. So given the opportunity, I know the GFA, the GOC, that's the Ghana Olympic Committee, is normally in charge, and it has to do with accreditation. I know the processes, per the briefing I got, the processes leading to the Australia scandal is that they normally have a list called a long list and also a short list. The long list normally will be prepared first for the host federation or the organizing country, for the organizers to be able to give accreditation for athletes to be able to participate in the tournament. In the Australian case, instead of waiting for the short list or the final list to be submitted, they issued accreditation to most of this, all the names on the long list. So given the opportunity, I will engage the GOC and the National Sports Authority and ensure that, and even the host nation embassy in Ghana, so that we'll be able to ensure that only vetted athletes or sportsmen and women are issued with visas, so that we don't find ourselves damaging our image in this direction.
So will you be willing to make public the investigation report on the Australian visa scandal, for example?
I will follow through to see the agencies doing this investigation. If they are concluded, maybe there is the current, I don't know the status of the investigation. So if yes, the investigation is concluded, yes, it's a public interest matter. and the reports should be made public. That's what I think.
Oh, Tyson Fury there, and he says he's going to fight twice in the year 2021. That is regardless of whether that fight against Anthony Joshua does happen. That's it for sports. There is more at myjoyonline.com/sports. My name is Hans Mensando. Go on and have a lovely weekend.
We wrap up the bulletin tonight. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. We have all the developing stories there and the updates. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Enjoy the rest of your program.